Brought to you by Mr. Pros TV, streaming from Tempe, Arizona. And we're live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, Jordan Nielsen here, host of Real Estate Pros on Mr. Pros TV. And today we're in Tempe, Arizona, our studio here, and we have a special guest in studio. We have John Green of Concord East Ridge, and he is the development director.
Yes, that's
correct.
Yep.
That's it. But we'll take it back. I've known John for, dude, how long have I known you? Probably since early 2000.
Years.
15 years. We worked together as tellers at Wells Fargo. So, anyways,
Same high school.
Same high school. I think I remember seeing you a little bit. We weren't really friends in high school because I was the new guy. I only went to that school on my senior year.
And I was in the popular crowd.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and he was popular. I was just off to the side, like looking at.
No, not at all.
That was one of the biggest things. Like in Texas, when I grew up, it wasn't so cliquey, and then I come out here. And like over by the lockers at Mountain View, there's like a group here, a group here, a group. I'm like, what is this?
Yep.
So then I just found like some random friends. I became friends with Danny and a bunch of other guys. But anyways, that's fun. So anyways, we'll give you an opportunity. Actually, no. So we work together. I guess we'll let you introduce yourself. I guess a little background. We'll keep it real estate related because we have a lot in common. We could talk for hours about bikes, cars, whatever. But I guess give us a little bit of background. You've been in real estate longer than I have, and so I guess kind of give us a overview of, what interested you in real estate, why you got in there, and how you kind of got into now commercial real estate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, commercial real estate kind of runs in my family. My dad owns a property management company and uncles that were involved in development. So it was kind of my destined path that I was looking at following, but just didn't, I've always wanted to be a developer, but didn't know exactly the path to take. And actually it kind of started working with me and you together at Wells Fargo. So got to meet a lot of people and figured out where they got there and how they got to where they're at. And, took my PTO 2 weeks off and just went straight to real estate school for 9 days, got my license in 12, and then jumped right into selling new homes for a number of years. And kind of when that market crashed and went away, went and asked my dad where things are trending, and he said, you got to get on with the banks. This looks very familiar. 2008, 2007.
Right, yep.
Very familiar of the late 80s RTC days. And so went on the assessor's website, typed in credit union bank, found out who owns all the properties at that time. The REO market wasn't very big at that period. It was just starting to go, and was able to hook in with Wells Fargo, Bank of America, HSBC Bank, and worked for mainly HSBC and servicing companies for about 7 years. But I've always wanted to be a developer, and I felt I wasn't progressing personally where I wanted to be at. And I felt with the REO market, I was just kind of shuffling papers, doing some marketing. I wanted to get into more of the development world. So went back to ASU full time and graduated in a bachelor in real estate. And then immediately from ASU, got hired at a company called Barclay Group developing shopping centers. And that's kind of my first step into real estate, developing shopping centers in the Sunbelt region of the United States.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between your residential real estate REO days, because all I remember, at that point in time, I wasn't a real estate agent, but I was a branch manager at Wells Fargo. You would come in, I'd cash your sizable checks. You'd be like, Jordan, here you go. I'm like, dude, come on now. I'm in the wrong industry here. But that kind of got my minds thinking about real estate, and I had property management actually kind of piqued my interest from other customers. But yeah, that you are right about Wells Fargo and working in that environment, because you meet a lot of people that come in that do different things. Obviously, real estate was very hot back in the days. But anyways, back on residential real estate versus commercial, because we know there's a lot of real estate agent. I think most real estate agents start in residential. They don't necessarily go straight to commercial.
Yep.
But there may be real estate agents watching that are, maybe they're not super passionate about residential real estate, and they may, want to end up in commercial. So what are some of the biggest differences having been on both sides of the transaction, residential real estate and then commercial?
Well, I first off love residential real estate. Now being in the commercial, and it's more simpler. It's every time we do a contract, there's multiple attorneys that are being involved. The dollar amounts are much more at stake. We watch constantly where the market's going, and there's just a lot more due diligence that needs to be done on the commercial side. So I guess my advice, if I would have known, at that point in time, making a shift from residential to commercial, there's a couple of groups, Urban Land Institute, ULI, and also NAOP. Those are another group as well that are very, very strong in Arizona. And anyone that's in residential looking to get into commercial, I would join these groups and go to all the conventions and the events that are there and just start meeting people, because both industries is based off relationships.
Sure.
And that's all commercial is, as well as relationships as well. And there's much more networking that's done on the commercial side because it involves a whole development team.
Right.
Attorneys, civil, architects, banks, lending, capital partners. So
it sounds like a much more complex transaction on the commercial side of things.
Yes.
When residential real estate is smaller dollar figure, not as much at risk when you look at the big picture. And, because when you're developing big areas, you have to look about, it's not like, oh, here's a shopping center. Let me pull comps of the shopping center right next door and see what,
Can't
so
do that. No.
it's a lot more complicated. And I think that's probably why commercial real estate runs more off of, the rents and stuff like that. And so anyways, so right now you're a development director. What has been your role previously? Because I know you did some analysis on properties and trying to figure out you're in that role.
Yeah, so at Barclay Group, I work now at Concord East Ridge. I would underwrite and vet new opportunities. We worked with a lot of different tenants, like LA Fitness. Starbucks would always fall every time we do a development site. And that probably, what were we talking about?
So just on the development side, so what thought process goes on, when you're trying to
my
figure
role.
out your role.
So my role at Barclay Group was a financial and development analyst, and at Concord East Ridge, I was a senior development analyst when I was hired there. So my role was underwriting and being in charge of all the due diligence, all the numbers, how much we were going to make, how much we were going to lose, and pretty much just refining your budget. That's all I would do, is just try to project our budget and potential future cash flows based off of market conditions. And so
are these all like projects that are underway already, or like potential, or like you're trying to bring in new potential deals that they do?
Yeah. So when one of the executives or principals of our company has an idea, I go and vet it.
Gotcha.
And
so you're kind of like first part, see if it makes sense, if it works.
Look at rents in the area, look at cap rates, look at potential tenants, and just kind of determine, is there a potential to develop that property at that specific location.
And being in that role for a long extended period of time, you probably get a lot of experience doing that, and which probably help propel you to where you're at now, which is the development director.
Yes.
So what is your role now? What do you do at Concord East? I guess I'm getting into this because, so people can see, what the potential is in commercial real estate. What are some different opportunities, when it comes to career-wise, and if somebody's looking, I don't know if Concord East Ridge is hiring or whatnot. But anyways, I guess just talk a little bit about, what you do now as a development director.
Well, still my main role is doing pro forma work. That's my first role. So with the director of development, my new role would just include sourcing new opportunities, potential opportunities to do, and working more about expanding our company's relationships just out in the community as well. So mainly I'm still keeping the same kind of title, but when there's opportunity to source other investment projects. In our company, we deal with every property type out there. We look at a piece of property, and we're an opportunistic developer, and determine what is the highest and best value use of that land to maximize the value. So we're not stuck like my old company was they would just duplicate the same thing. We would actually dive into whether it needs to be, student housing, multifamily, retail, office. Our company has the background experience to do that.
So working with Barclay and Concord Eastridge, are these relationships that you developed from these networking groups that you mentioned earlier, or how do you get connected with these groups?
Well, it's always difficult to get a niche into the commercial world.
Right.
So the way that I got in, Barclay was based off of they came to ASU and were looking for an ASU graduate that had the experience necessary to fill that position. And then I was very, very happy at Barclay Group, and I get approached here and there by headhunters, and so was approached and made aware of an opportunity at Concord Eastridge, liked their business model of being an opportunistic developer, and I'm quite nervous about the future of traditional retail as Amazon keeps on niching away.
And that is something you have to take into consideration big time on the commercial development side of things. I didn't even think about that, because as they continue, I mean it's not like overnight all these retail.
It's slowly happening.
It's just like a slow death almost, So you got to keep an eye out from a commercial standpoint of, is this retailer going to be in business? Because everything is based on rents, when it comes to commercial real estate.
That's all the value comes at. It's not the actual building.
So do you see values going down a bit around commercial real estate because of that, or is it still pretty optimistic about the current state right now? Or they're thinking, we should probably think about this in 5 years. How is this going to change?
I think we're going through a cleansing of good tenants that are delivering what the public wants and bad tenants, and that actually has happened. So we've seen a slow decline and getting beat up quite a bit on the power center side. That's not our business. That's not our industry. But we also do see a surge of still neighborhood centers. In regards to Whole Foods entering into Amazon purchasing Whole Foods, you're starting to see a little bit more kind of the natural grocers enter and expand their market more. So that's when you think it, and a lot of the retail has gone away with selling actual goods. It's more turned to service, haircuts, restaurants. Those will never go away.
Right.
But which eliminates kind of the big boxes, because the Amazons, the eBays of the world are slowly chipping away at that time. So, Sears is pretty much closing their doors. And Toys R Us is going away.
And it's funny because from a consumer standpoint, I'm not super analytical on the thing, but if you think about just the experience, I buy something, it shows up on my door, in 1 day or 2 days, and then I go to a store, I'm looking for something, I don't find it, or I buy something that's the wrong size, I got to go take it back. It's just it's just straight time, Yeah. But anyways, that's kind of off topic.
And you also pay more for it.
And you pay more, and a lot of,
Well, with Amazon, you're getting it now within hours instead of a day with Amazon Prime. So really with my position and career, I looked down 30 years, and I knew the landscape and the model that I was doing at the old company is
right.
not going to be there. And I wanted a different path that opened up to all development opportunities.
Yeah. Do you have an idea of what the future would hold for commercial? This is off the topic. I don't know. Do you?
Yeah. Well, it's all the market indicators are hitting on all directions for Arizona. Commercial real estate's very geography specific, and we're going through somewhat of a tech boom in Arizona, which is good. I think we beat out last year Austin, and we're number 2 with most jobs being created, and and had an opportunity to meet with the CEO of Tuftonita, went to his place and talked to him. And they've done a fantastic job of driving more tech people to come look at Arizona just because it's cheaper. The founders of Tuftonita started in Silicon Valley. And when they wanted to start their idea of building a great mattress, they would have to syndicate money just to pay for the rent of their place. They could come here in Arizona. It was much cheaper. And so this boom is starting to happen right now. In terms of where the market's heading, pretty much for all property types, cap rates are compressing or staying flat. Rents are increasing. Spots here and there of retail are taking a hit, but in other places they're absorbing quite well. So as of now, the future looks really bright in Arizona, but everyone is somewhat nervous. We've had a lot of multifamily hit the market, and once we think that cycle's over, economists come back, reports come back, things have absorbed, rents are rising in certain areas. So, I'm optimistic yet nervous because, as we know, there's been a tradition of 8 to 10 years having, a natural decline, and when did this all start? In 2008.
Right.
2016 happened. When is that correction, if ever, going to happen? So I don't know. Everyone has to pull out the crystal ball.
We'll see what happens.
Yep.
But I guess I'll end with, if somebody watching this and they're like, definitely, is there any other advice you'd give somebody that's in residential real estate or actually just coming out and wanting to just do commercial real estate outside of just joining networking group? Is there anything that they can do to kind of make it an easier transition into commercial real estate? Or is that, their best bet, the networking groups?
It's really going to come down to what you know. And you really have to become an expert in Excel. You really have to understand numbers. And one of the best resources for that is a website called Adventures in CRE. So anyone that's looking to get into commercial, wants to understand pro forma analysis, budgets, understand the terminology that we use on a daily basis, go to that website. All their pro formas that they have are free. He does a great job of, Spencer Burton is the person that runs it. He has multiple YouTube videos, but he'll take just a blank Excel workbook and build a multifamily pro forma from scratch. So anyone that kind of comes to me, I said,
"Oh, gotcha.
You got to learn, because how much you know, how smart you are is really the value that you bring to a company, or if you're a business owner, help you make smart, intelligent decisions when going into this field."
So that was Adventure, CRE?
Adventures in CRE. Mm-hmm.
Adventure?
Adventures.
Like going on adventures?
Yep.
Okay.
Adventures
CRE. I just want to make sure.
There's other websites there, but that's going to be by far one of the best websites to go to. And it's unfortunate that there's not too many other resources out there that gives really good information. There's Realty, there's getrefm.com. I think the best thing to do is any of your viewers that watch this, send me an email. Hopefully you guys can put my contact in there. And I'm more than happy to kind of, anyone that's looking to get in the industry, give advice. I'm very open. I always go to lunches and meet people. Networking is everything as in residential. So
sweet.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, it's been fun having you on Real Estate Pros today,
Thank
John.
you.
And we will see you guys on the next episode.